Is the volume right? Hello everyone, I am Paolo Simonazzi, computer engineer and the creator of DrumPi, this little box right here. What is it and what does it do? It takes MIDI messages in from your existing drum module and instantly plays back high quality, multi-velocity and multi-microphone samples. Basically what you normally do when connecting a laptop. Why was I not happy with a classic laptop setup? For a couple of reasons. Latency was a big problem for me because even if I was using really high-end audio interfaces, powerful computers, the latency was never, that low. And in this case, with DrumPi, I could really tweak the operating system to be real-time and lower the latency to a point where it's not actually audible anymore. The other problem was, convenience. It's not really convenient to me to go around with a laptop, audio interfaces, cables, and stuff like that. So combining these two things together, plus the sounds that were coming from my TD15 back then were pretty horrible. So I'm going to show you, the result that I achieved. So what you just heard is basically a Yamaha recording custom from 1989 that was recorded a couple of years ago. And what DrumPi basically allowed me to do that wasn't possible before is to sample this kit really deeply with a lot of microphones and a lot of velocities. Why? Well, first of all, the typical problem of any electronic module is the machine gunning. So if you play many notes continuously, normally you hear something that is really artificial, not really convincing. In this case, it's kind of, feels natural. Plus, if you play some sort of press roll or really little note, ghost notes, and drags, in this case, you have all the samples that cover the kind of playing. I'll try a press roll. Sorry, I'm not a professional drummer. So basically, if you try to play this thing with any other drum module, the result is not going to be that exciting, especially if your drum module is not the new. So imagine you have a Roland from, 10 years ago. For example, my TD15 is from 2014. Is almost 12 years ago. The triggering part is brilliant because it's really accurate, the dynamic is great. Unfortunately, the sound is not that great. So upgrading with DrumPi, you basically get the same result as you were buying a new drum kit, if not better actually. Because what I've noticed that even the new modules don't have enough much memory, and don't have enough computer power. And what I've realized, over the development of DrumPi that lasted, I started this project in 2015. It took a while. Is that basically if you don't have much memory for your samples, and if you don't keep all the channels separated, the microphone basically that you've used during the sampling stage, and you don't mix them in real time, the result will be always artificial, especially for the compression. So if you pre-apply compression to some microphone, you bake the effect into the samples, the result is not going to be the same. So one advantage of DrumPi is that you sample your drum kit and you keep all the microphones separated, and then, you keep all your microphones separated, and then DrumPi will give you a 64-channel mixer with bass, effects, the typical effects that you will find on a typical DAW. And those microphones will be mixed in real time. And the effect is much more natural, especially for the room mics. For example, another problem that I see in native modules are toms. If you try to play really little notes on toms, you can tell that it's the same sample recycled, reused over and over. In this case, if you do a little drag, you can tell that the sample is different. So basically, a press roll on a tom is pretty much impossible on any other native module. And so this is, my biggest motivation. I wasn't happy with the sound. I could tell that the memory wasn't enough. I could tell the processing power wasn't there to process all these microphones separated, and the latency wasn't there. That's why, when people want to get really good sound, they use their laptop, because the laptop has a lot of memory. But at the same time, I wasn't happy with the laptop either. And that's basically the reason of DrumPi. Plus, as you can tell, because I didn't use any screen, because I wanted to make this product really cheap, really affordable for everyone, I decided to go with completely closed box, metal box, that gives you the user interface via any web browser. So any device you have, a tablet, in my studio I have my tablet on my side, on the right, and I can control pretty much everything from it. In this case, I have a laptop, and you can tell that almost in real time you can see the volumes on the view meter, and you can adjust pretty much everything of this kit. All the microphones are kept separated. And to me, it's pretty much the way to go. I mean, nowadays, I think every drum module should have a lot of memory and a lot of computer power. And they should have a good screen, because it's pretty, it's not really convenient to dial in on little menus. So that was my take on electronic drum modules. Thank you.
Of course, we're open to questions now, but Paolo, can you explain actually what the system consists of? So there's this little box, and then there's some software, and can you just explain how it all works?
So basically, yes, I've used a Raspberry Pi, which is a general purpose computer that you can find on Amazon for $150. It used to cost much less. It was cheaper. Now with the AI thing, everything is more expensive. But you can still find it for $150. And I wrote the software for it. So basically, what you need to do is buy a couple of boards from Amazon or any other electronic shop of your choice. You snap them together in 10 minutes top. And then you download DrumPi from drumpi.com, and you install this software on SD card. Any SD card adapter will do the job, and probably 15 minutes you are good to go. And what is it? Basically, then you end up with this little box right here, and then all you need to do is connect it via USB to your module, and that's it.
And as somebody who's been through the process myself, I can tell you that there's no soldering involved. It's just clipping boards into place. It is quite intimidating in the idea, but once you watch Paolo's video and you try it yourself, it is a really easy thing to do. So you've spoken about the cost component, so $250 for the little box. Obviously, there's a license as well. Can you explain that?
So the hardware cost would be around $200, plus there's the license for the software itself that is 59 euros, $69. So basically, depending on period of the year you buy it, because of the variance of the hardware cost, but you're looking at between $250 and $300, which is, I think, way cheaper than a laptop with an audio interface, with a VST and stuff. Plus, the latency, believe me, is really lower. It is something that you should try yourself, because latency or ultra-low latency is something that you realize by comparison. If you play something that is, let's say 8 milliseconds, where to me, ideally should have at most 6 milliseconds, you don't realize that something is wrong. But if you play one 8 millisecond system and then you try a 5 millisecond system, you can tell the difference. And, sorry, another thing that I'd like to add is that DrumPi is not a closed system. We developed companion software that runs cross-platform, Windows, Mac, that allows you to create sound software for DrumPi. So you can import your own sounds, you can record your sound, it's completely customizable.
Any questions?
So if I have like a Lasys module and I plug it into the DrumPi, will it be the same latency?
Well, it depends what Lasys Generally, when you connect DrumPi to any electronic drum module, it adds roughly 1 milliseconds of latency, which is basically nothing, especially compared to what you would have with a laptop. When you connect a laptop with an audio interface, you have way more than 1 milliseconds of latency. So yeah, you always need to add like 1 millisecond of latency. In some cases, the latency is even lower than native module, but I don't want to make names because I don't want to get arrested.
We do have free speech in Germany, I believe. Okay, any other questions? The current offering consists of how many drum kits? So how many are in the box?
So at the moment we have 3 drum kits. The Yamaha that you just heard, a classic kit from '89. And then we have a Tamastar Classic Maple from 2006. And then we have also a rare Radial Pro. I don't know if you guys remember this kit from '90s. It wasn't really fortunate, but it's really good sounding. And DrumPi's user was so kind, Steve Welsh, was so kind enough to record the Tamastar Classic and the Radial Pro. As we speak, we're preparing another kit, which is another Yamaha, but recorded in a huge room, so it's going to be interesting.
And looking down the track, are you envisaging adding more kits, or do you think it's going to be users developing their own using third-party tools?
I think both ways are really interesting because it's nice to have a module that you turn it on, you play, everything is great. But at the same time, it's nice to experiment and to record your own kit. You're in your garage with a couple of microphones and to get something more authentic, something more unique. I think both ways are pretty valid. It depends what kind of drummer you are. But we definitely gonna record more drum kits for sure. And they are going to be included in the same license. So,
brilliant. Okay, well, you've probably got a minute left if you want to just do a bit more playing demonstration, or you want to just stand up and get rapturous applause from the audience?
Just a little bit to leave you with a nice memory.
Ladies and
Thank you very
gentlemen,
much.
Paolo, thank you, mate. Thanks a lot.